Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
My name is Abinaya, Assistant Professor from Computer Science and Engineering from Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology. So today I'm going to explain about our Python methods, so which we are going to see OOPS concepts in the Python. So before that, we have to know why we are going for the class, why we need objects, so what is the use for the functions. See, for example, if I want to collect some data from the students, for example, I'm having 50 students in my class, I want to collect a name, a register number as well as the marks. For example, each student is having a 5 marks. So total, whenever I'm having a 50 students, so 50 into 5, then I need a 250 variable. So it is very difficult to create so many variable in a single code. So that's what we are going for the OOPS concept. So what is the use for that? So in OOPS concept, we are having a class, I'm having objects, I'm having functions. So whenever we are going to collect a same set of input from the different users, then I need a class. So again, why I need a function? Whenever I'm going to use a same concept or the same operations for the different input, then I need a functions. So I told the example that a single student, if I want to collect the marks now, I need a 5 variables. So for a 50 students, I need a 250 variable. So for example, whenever I'm going to deploy this concept in a OOPS concept using a class, it is enough to have a 50 variables. That is for a 50 students, 50 variable and the constant 5 input. So total it is a 55 variable is enough for me to collect the data and I can able to do the process. So that's what we are going for your class. So now we'll see what is the syntax for the class. So class represent the keyword. So first a class represent the keyword, everything must be in a small letter. So after that a class name. So whatever the name we needed, we can able to add that. Okay, so this is the syntax for the class. So if I want to create the class in a code, then I need a syntax is a class name. The class name you can give according to your code. So if I'm going to collect the student database now, class student database. So if I'm going to collect the data for the employee, class employee. So this is the syntax for the class we are needed. So the next one, so whenever I have created, now I have got the input through the class. Next what I have to do, so student 1 I need to collect the marks. Student 2 I have to collect the marks. So how I can able to do this? Using the object. So what is the syntax for that now? Object is equal to class name. So for example, I'm going to create a student 1. I'm going to get my input for the student 1. Then a student 1 is equal to student database, because I have created the class name as a student database. So student 1 is equal to student database. Then only the particular input will go to the particular class and it will do the process. So this is the second step. So after created the class, I have to create my objects. The next one, how can I able to access this attributes now? Using a object name dot attributes name. Attributes now, the input variable, whatever we have declared in the code, we are calling that as a attributes. So this is a simple example how we can able to work it out. So here we have created a code for the employee. So we know that, so for a company we have n number of employees will be there. So if I want to collect the input whenever we are doing some salary process, or if I want to create the database now, the same attributes only we are going to collect. So what is the employee name, what is the employee ID, so what is the date of birth, so the 3 variable. So whenever we are having a 10 employee, so 10 into 3, 30 inputs I needed. But using a class, the constant 3 attributes, it must be the same. But I'm going to collect only for the 10 employees. So the 10 employee name, I'm going to call that one as a object. So total it is enough to create a 13 variables. So that's what here we are going to see. So class name here I have given as an employee. So after created the class, I have to declare what are the attributes. Attributes na input, what are the input I needed. So I'm going to collect what is the employee ID. So it is an integer, so I have to specify in the 0. Next I'm going to collect the employee name. So employee name must be a string. So we know that Python la, if I want to collect the input as a string, then I have to give it in a double quotes. So it is mentioned in a double quotes. So once the class block is over, the next thing I have to create my object, because I'm going to pass my input one. So input 1 க்கு, so what are the details I'm going to fill? Input 2, what are the input? Okay, so here we are calling that one as a object. So object is equal to class name. So for first employee, I'm going to collect the detail. So object name is equal to the class name. Here I have given as a employee. So here we have given as a employee. So again, using the same class, I'm going to collect the data. Again, employee 2 is equal to same class la I'm going to pass my input. So employee 2 is equal to a class name. So this represents 6th and 7th line represent the object is equal to class name. So after that what I have to do? So now I have created the object. So employee 1 I am going to pass my data. Employee 2 I am going to pass my data. Next what I have to do? I have to give my input. So how I can able to give my input na? So object name dot attribute name. So for employee 1 I have to pass my input. So employee 1 dot, what is my attribute? First attribute employee ID. So employee ID is equal to, it is represented as an integer. So I have given in an integer. Again, employee 1 dot emp name. So it represents as a string. So string now I have to give the names. So I am giving the names. So using a one object and two attributes, I have passed my in the first input. Again, for the second thing, again I have to pass my input. So the second thing, employee 2 dot employee ID. So it is an integer. I have given everything in a number. Again, the third one, I have to give it in a name. So because I have specified it is a string, so the object name here is employee 2. So employee 2 dot employee name, I'm going to pass my input. So I have given this. Now I have given my input. Next I have collected all the data. Next process what we have to do? I have to print my data, right? So we are printing the data. So how the input is storing here? It is not A is equal to 1001, B is equal to 1001. So here it is saved data in a string format. So why? Because object dot attributes equal to input. Object dot attributes equal to input. So the input is stored in the variable like this. So I have to print data in the structure of F employee ID. So this is the data whatever you want to print. So first where it is stored in a employee 1 dot employee ID. Slash n represent the new line. So the next line again it will print the data. So what is the represent for the F now? Formatting the string. Because here I have stored all my input in a object name dot attributes name. So the variable, if I want to collect the input in a print I have to mention the F represent the formatting the string. So this is the structure of the code. If I want to collect a same number of the input from the different user, I have to mention class, class name, what are the attributes I needed. So once the class block is over, the next thing I have to create the object. Object now I'm going to get the input from the user. So object name is equal to class name, whatever we have declared, then I have declared it. Next I have to pass my input. So how can I able to pass my input now? Object name dot attributes. Then only for the particular object the input will be passed and it will do the process. So next, so this is the class now. So I'm going to get the same number of the input from the different users. So the next one concept is a function. So what is the use of the function now? Whenever I'm going to do the same operations from the different user or a different input, then we are going for the function. For example, in my class I'm having 20 students. For all the 20 students, I'm going to do the same operations. I have to calculate the CGPA. So again and again I don't want to do the code. If it is a simple code now, again I have to do A is equal to A plus B plus C. Again D is equal to A plus B plus C. Like that I have to collect the different input. Again I have to do the different process. So to avoid that, we are going for the function. So I can able to reuse it. So whenever I need the particular operations, I can call the particular function and I can able to pass my input and I can do the code. So what is the syntax for the function now? DEF, this is a keyword. So we have to represent everything in a small letter. def function name. So function name, whatever the function name. So for example, if I am going to calculate the CGPA na def CGPA. If I am going to calculate the multiplication na def multiply. So if I am going to calculate any average na def average. So I can mention the function name according to our code. So in the bracket la I have to pass the arguments, that is a self arguments, then only I can able to access the particular input and I can able to do the coding. So what are the functions? So for example, in the function body I am going to multiply, I am going to do the multiply now, print C is equal to A into B. So what are the functions, what are the operations I needed, I have to mention here. So after that I have to return the statement. So once it is over, next I have to call the particular function, then only it is work it out. So this is the structure of the function. We'll see some example. So this is a small example, just we are doing a simple addition using a two numbers. So def, it is a keyword. So after that I am going to do the addition operation. So I am giving a function name as a add underscore number. Here I am going to pass it two arguments. So arguments represent how many number of input we are going to pass. So here we are passing only the two numbers. So num1 comma num2. So here I am going to do the operation as addition. So I created another variable sum is equal to addition. So after that we are printing the data sum. So because the output is stored in the sum, so I have given as a sum. Okay, so the function block is over. So once the function block is over, I have to call the particular functions. I have to pass the input. While calling the function, I have to pass my input. Then only the particular input will be go to the particular functions and it will do the process. So add numbers of, because the same function name I have to call, so add underscore numbers of 5 comma 4. So I am passing a 2 input here. Now again the 5 and 4 will be go here and it will do the process, will get the output as a 9. So that's what here I have represented in the diagram representation. So for num1 it will pass as 5, for num2 it is pass as 4. So it will do the operations and it will print the value as 9. So here I have given sum colon. So sum colon, the answer is stored 5 plus 4 is 9 in sum, so it is printing as a 9. So this is what the sum is working, that is your function is working. So this is another example. So class along with the functions, we are calling this as a Python methods. Whenever in a code we are having a class and the function in a same class block, we are calling as a Python methods. So obviously we know that. So what is the use for the class? Whenever we are going to collect a same number of the input from the different users, I need a class. So what is the use for the functions? Whenever I am going to use a same functions or a same operations for the different input, I need a functions. So while we are having a code, both a class and the function in a same code, we are calling this as a Python methods. So we know the structure of the code. So class, I have to represent any class name. So for function, def function name, anything we can give it. Okay. So here I am going to do the area of, I am going to identify the my classroom area. So I have created a class name I have represented as a classroom. So here I am going to collect the two things. If I want to calculate the area of the room, then I need what is the length and what is the breadth. Okay, so here I have mentioned two attributes. So both as an integer, so I have mentioned as a 0. So after that I am going to calculate what is the area of the classroom. So L into B, we know the formula. So now the same formula that we are going to calculate for all the classrooms. So def. So here I have given the function name as a calculate underscore area. So you can give anything. So I have to pass my arguments, then only this arguments will go and call the particular input and it will process to the particular functions. So print the area of the classes. So how we are passing the input? So self dot length, self dot breadth. So then only this particular functions will go to the particular input and it will do the process. So that's what it is given as a self dot length into self dot breadth. So this is a calculation. So this is a class block. So it is over. So once the class block is over, next I have to create the objects. Object is equal to class name, whatever we are given. So here I am going to calculate the area for AML classroom and AI classroom. So here I have created the object name as AML is equal to, what is the class name here I have given as a classroom. So classroom of, again I want to calculate the area for the classroom for AI. So AI is equal to classroom of. So the 9th and the 10th line is represent the object. Object is equal to classroom. So for both the thing I am using a same attributes and I am going to use the same functions. I am not doing anything separately. So what that is a use for the class and the function in a code. So whenever we are having a class and function in a same code, we are calling that as a Python methods. So I have created the object. Next what we have to do, I have to pass my input. AML. So this is object name. So AML dot. So what is the attributes name here? We have given length. So AML dot length is equal to 90. Again, I am having another attributes, that is a breadth. So AML dot breadth is equal to 80. Again, next object I have created as a AI. So AI dot length, AI dot breadth. So I have passed my input. So I have passed my input. I have created all the things. Next I have to pass all the input to the functions. I have to call the function. Then only it will do the process. Again I want to call the functions. How I can able to call the functions? So for the particular object dot a function name. So for the 9th line we are having object as AIML, 10th line we are having object as AI. So AIML dot, what is the function name here we are having? Calculate area. So I am going to call that. So now what are the input we are given? 90, 80. So now it will go. So self dot length, self dot breadth, what are the things we are having? 90 and 80. So the area of the classroom is 7200 and it will display. So what is the next object I have created? AI. So AI again I have to call the particular functions, then only it will do the process and it will work it out. AI dot calculate area. So it is calculating the area. So here the passing. So here we are passing AI dot length is equal to 90, AI dot breadth is equal to 80.4. So it will do the get the input from the particular function and again it will do the process and it will return the value as 7252.08 because here we have given the input in a decimal format. So we are getting the output in a decimal format. So that's what here it is declared. So whenever I am going to collect the same number of the input from the different users, I need a class. Whenever I am going to do the same operations for the different input, I need a functions. So whenever we are going to use a both same and the same class and the function in a same code, we are calling that as a Python methods. So in this itself we are having a constructor. So what is the use of the constructor now? Whenever we created the object, it automatically initializes the value. So for that we are using the constructor. So where we are using the constructor now? While collecting the input, that is while collecting the attributes we are using your constructor. So the syntax is def, that is a keyword. We have to leave the space, a double underscore. So here we are going to initialize the input, that is the attributes. So I have to represent INIT double underscore. So this is a self arguments. So based on that only again I can able to pass my input. So we saw right in the function self dot length, self dot breadth. So like that. So constructor we have a pass some arguments. So instead of self we can give anything, a comma b comma c, anything we can give. So whatever we are representing the first thing we are calling that as arguments. So based on that arguments only I can able to pass my input. So we'll see the example. So previously we saw that. So after created the classroom, so directly I have given length is equal to 0, breadth is equal to 0. So while using a constructor also I can pass my input. So class, the classroom name, okay, the class name here I have the same thing, classroom name, class name. So here we are going to use the constructor. So def space double underscore INIT double underscore. So self is the arguments, already we will have it. So how many things here I am going to pass now? 3 attributes. What is the classroom name, what is the length and what is the breadth. So 3 attributes I am going to pass it. So self dot name, self dot length, self dot breadth is equal to name, length, breadth, like that I have to mention. So whenever you are getting the attributes, I can also collect my input using the constructor. So what is the use of the constructor now? While initializing, it will create it will call the particular object and it will do the process. So after that, once the block is over, next I have to create my function because I am going to calculate the area of the room. So obviously I need a function. So syntax def. So I can give any function name. So here I have given calculate underscore area self. So already I told you. So whenever we are having or we are calling a input variable as a self dot name, that is object name dot attributes, I have to represent the f represent the formatting the string. So it's going to return the area of the self dot name, because I need to mention what is the AAML A1 classroom name. So I have to print like that. So I am giving a self dot name, classroom is, so how I am going to calculate? We know that area L into B. So self dot length into self dot breadth I have given. So now I have got my input, I know the functions formula. Next I have to create my object. So whenever we have created the class, I need to create the object. Object name is equal to class name. So first classroom 1 I have mentioned. So classroom 1 is a object is equal to a class name. So class name la we are having a classroom of. So how many arguments here we are passing? Three arguments. Name, what is a classroom name, what is the length, and what is the breadth value. So I have given AML A1 45 35. So 2 value. Again I have created the another variable, classroom 2 is equal to classroom of AML A2, another 2 value I have given. So I have created the 2 attributes, that is our 2 object. Along with that input also I have passed it. Now I passed my input. Next what I have to do? I have to do some operations. So I have to call the particular functions. So how I can able to call? Object name dot function name. So I am going to print a classroom 1. So this is my first object, classroom 1 dot a function name. Here I am having a calculate the area. So classroom 1 dot calculate the area. So now it will go. So AML1. So name ka I have given as AML1. So the area of the self dot name ka I have given AIML A1. So AIML A1. The classroom is L into B. So here I have given 45 into 35. You will get the output as a 1575. So we are getting the output as 1575. The next thing I am passing a, again I have to call the particular function along with the object name. So object name dot function name. So object name, here we have given a classroom 2. So classroom 2 dot function name. So again I am passing. So the first self 1 dot name ka I am having a AML A2. The area of the AML A2 classroom is L into B. So L into B ka we are passing the value as a 70.8, 90. So we are getting the output in a float, that is in a decimal value, that we are having a 6372.0. So this is the example Python methods using your class. Class la we are having attributes as well as the function name. So how we are collecting the attributes now? Using the constructor. So what is the use for the constructor now? While initially it will created the object and it will call the particular functions. Okay, so that is the thing. So we are collecting the input through the constructor. So this is a function. What is the use for the function now? I am going to do the same operations for the different inputs. So this is one of the examples we are having. So this is another example. So here also I am going to do the same process. As I told that whenever I am having a class, we are having a 10 students, the same marks only they are going to get, same subject names. Okay, subject 1, subject 2, subject 3. If all the 10 students were going to have a 3 subject as a common subject, so I have to calculate the average, or I have to calculate the CGPA. Na? Obviously we are going for the Python methods, that is a class and functions. So class name, here I have mentioned as a student. So I am here, I am going to get my marks using a, that is a marks, that is a input attributes using a constructor. So I am defining the constructor def space double underscore. Here only we are initializing the attribute. So init double underscore self name age subject 1 subject 2. So 4 attributes I have passed it. So self dot name is equal to name, self dot age is equal to age. So like that we have given. So once the attributes I have got it, I have to create my functions. So I have done the function. So I am going to calculate the average. So here we are having a 2 subjects. So I am going to calculate a subject 1 plus subject 2 divided by 2. So functions, we know the syntax def space function name, I can give anything. So self arguments, based on that only I can able to do the process. Once the class block is over, I have to create my object. So I am going to get my input. So object name is equal to class name. So here I am going to create the object name, student 1 is equal to class name. Here I have given a student. So how many input here we have passing? 3. Name, age, subject 1, subject 2. So name, age, subject 1, subject 2. Again for the second student I am going to collect it. So name, age, subject 1, subject 2. Now I have the input also. Next what I have to do? I have to call the function. Average marks is equal to student 1 dot calculate the average. So it will go to the particular function and it will do the process. So once it is over, so we already know that the input, the value is stored in a object 1 dot attribute name. So print la I have to mention the f, it is used to formatting the string. So average mark for a student 1. Student 1, here we are having albinus I have given, or what is the average mark we have calculated, it will produce the output. So 85 plus 90 divided by 2, we are getting a 87.5. Again, I have to call the next object. So f average student2 dot name, student2 dot name I have given as a next name. So I have given whatever the name we have given, it will print it. So here I have given as a CB, so CB or 87.5. So till now we saw the OOPS concept. So what is the main thing now? Whenever we are going to collect a same number of the input from the different users, as well as whenever we are going to use the same operations for the different input, then we are going for the class and the functions. So whenever in your code we are having a class and the function, then we are calling that as a Python methods. Also we saw the constructor. So what is the use of for the constructor now? While creating the attributes, while initializing the attributes, it will call the particular object and it will do the process. It is used to get your input. So for that we are going for the constructor. So for both the class, class syntax, class name, class, everything must be in a small letter. You can give any class name. Like that function def is a keyword, so everything must be in a small letter space. You can give whatever the function name you needed, you can give it. So like that for the constructor, everything is a keyword, that is a syntax def space double underscore. Here only we are initializing, so init double underscore self. So self comma we are using for calling the input. Thank you.